see DMX, and
you said the other day that you want to use legitimate state power to dismantle left-wing terror networks. Which organizations were you talking about, and what kind of state power are you envisioning using?
That's a great question. Thank you. And I'm glad for the opportunity to add a couple more details to that. So the struggle that's taking place right now is between the lawful exercise of power by the American people through a duly elected government versus the unlawful exercise of street violence in the form of domestic terrorism. So, again, the clearest example of this is when you have ICE officers who are carrying out the statutes and laws of the United States to arrest and remove illegal aliens, who are being subjected to violent attacks in the conduct of their duties. That's an example of illegitimate violence, illegitimate power in the form of domestic terrorism being used to impede the conduct of their official duties. The answer to that, in a civilized, modern, civilized society, is to use legitimate state power, grand juries, subpoenas, arrest warrants, search warrants, and every other federal power at the disposal of the commander-in-chief to identify and find everybody who is trying to use the real and actual threat of violence to impede the conduct of these federal responsibilities and ensure that they're placed behind bars. I'm not going to give you any advanced information about what these investigations have yielded so far. The Joint Terrorism Task Force has the lead, but they have found that these campaigns, that's not, of course, only against ICE officers. There's also a conversation we're having about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the 2 attempted assassinations against President Trump, the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO, the attempted assassination of Justice Kavanaugh, which, of course, an insane sentence of 8 years. So it's the broader spectrum of political violence. But obviously, ICE as an agency has been subjected to a 9-month effort to substitute left-wing violence for the votes of the American people. No federal officer in the conduct of their duties should have to worry about being physically attacked, being physically obstructed, being physically impeded, being doxxed, having a bounty put on them. And the fact that Democrat politicians are trying to normalize this really indicates how far we've gone as a society, that there is not universal condemnation of this organized campaign of violence against ICE officers.
Wait, no, but just to follow up, I don't know of many Democratic politicians who have endorsed these terrible incidences that you just referred to. And I also don't know of any evidence that there's some kind of vast underlying organization funding them. Is that what you're indicating is happening here?
Yes, in fact, we know that it's true. But obviously...
You think Tyler Robinson was being funded by some terrorist organization?
No, what I said was that you asked whether there was some larger criminal conspiracy relating to domestic terrorism in this country. And I said, yes, there absolutely is. Now, of course, Antifa has been designated as a domestic terrorist organization. This is only one example of many in which we have, it's typically a continuum of violence. It involves both organized doxing, it involves...
I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rakah Kodash, double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa abba babal. All right, so as you heard, Lex Luthor, he's talking about coming down with great wrath because they know that they have but a short time to be empowered. All right, the wicked, which are the red devil the Bible speak of, Esau, Edom. All right, and as you can see the collar of his shirt, he is not white, he is red. He is the red devil. Their entire race are the wicked. All right, whom the Lord hath indignation forever against. And they're coming down with lies against the Israelites, which they're painting us with a broad brush and throwing a bunch of people in the same profile. This is why they're using titles or terms like Antifa, and he said doxing. The word doxing, I looked that up, All right, because that goes back to the scriptures. All right, the doctrine, which we have documents, the Bible. It says dox. I put doxing. What is the meaning of doxing?
Docs.
It says search for or publish private or identifying information about a particular individual, like Edom, Esau, the so-called white man, which is actually the red devil the Bible speaks of. A particular individual on the internet, typically with malicious intent. All right, because we prophesy of his end and his future being slavery, as well as these other nations who have participated in the Israelite slavery, according to prophecy. Now it says, is doxing illegal in the U.S.? Doxing is not illegal in the U.S. under a single federal law, but can be prosecuted under various state laws for stalking, harassment, or criminal threats, or under federal laws that prohibit using interstate commerce for threats, intimidation, or stalking. Many states have also enacted specific anti-doxing laws to address the harm caused by online personal information and sharing, right? Information sharing. So it tells you in the Holy Scriptures, all right, that they're going to persecute us. All right. Matthew 24, verse 8, it says, all these are the beginning of sorrows, because we're in Jacob's trouble, and there's going to be a great tribulation because the so-called white man, the red devil, Esau, Edom, is going to come out with a implantable microchip and make it mandatory for buying and selling. It says, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. All right. And at that time, the Lord's going to cause them to go against each other. It says, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another, which the Lord's going to cause them to shoot nuclear missiles upon America and avenge us. It says in Revelation 17:1, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, which is America, that sitteth upon many waters, which is the European Union, which together they have the teeth of being NATO, with whom the kings of the earth, the other nations, have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Which what they did was they used and abused the Lord's people. Jeremiah 50, verse 6, my people have been lost sheep, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery. We are the biblical people of the nation of Israel, according to prophecy. It says, their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill, which they broke us up, just like they're doing now, breaking up the family in slavery. They have forgotten their resting place, which they didn't tell us we were Israelites. They said we were Negroes, Hispanics, Latinos, Native American Indians, black. We were everything else but the children of Israel. All right. It says, all that found them have devoured them. Their adversaries, which are the other nations, starting with Edom, the so-called white race, were offended not. We offended not. We offend not, because they have sinned against Yahweh, the habitation of justice, even Yahweh, the hope of their fathers, which we're at the end of this because we're repenting. Lamentations 4, verse 22. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. What you're trying to murder the Israelites. All right? That's who he's talking about. The ones that have the true doctrine, which prophesies of the end of Babylon. All right? They are the Edomites that are going to come down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time, which it tells you in Second Ezra 16, verse 70, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. So we got to go through this tribulation, and we're going to walk by faith, all right, not by sight, because it's going to look crazy, but the Lord is going to deliver us in ways we can even imagine. All we got to do is be thankful and charitable to his people, being his people. You know, we are the citizens of New Jerusalem. It says, hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble, Jacob's trouble, are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh is your guide, which he set up the apostles and prophets to lead us out of the way of trouble. We run into Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, which in the ancient world we had a kingdom in the promised land that had walls. The walls protected us from the other nations. All right. So we in the spirit in this time we have to come out of the way of the heathen and come into the marvelous light that we are the Israelites. All right. Let me get more of that video.
You said the other day that you want to use legitimate state power.
Being doxxed, having a bounty put on them, and the fact that Democrat politicians are trying to normalize this really indicates how far we've gone as a society, that there is not universal condemnation of this organized campaign of violence against ICE officers.
Wait, no, but just to follow up, I don't know of many Democratic politicians who have endorsed these terrible incidences that you just referred to. And I also don't know of any evidence that there's some kind of vast underlying organization funding them. Is that what you're indicating is happening here?
Yes, in fact, we know that it's true. But obviously...
You think Tyler Robinson was being funded by some terrorist organization?
No, what I said was that you asked whether there was some larger criminal conspiracy relating to domestic terrorism in this country. And I said, yes, there absolutely is. Now, of course, Antifa has been designated as a domestic terrorist organization. But it's only one example of many in which we have, it's typically a continuum of violence. It involves both.
See right there, it says doxing. It involves both organized doxing. All right. And the Bible commands us to come together in the faith of Yahweh Shai, in the name of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai in these last days, before the decree, before the day the Lord destroys the whore. All right. Now, these wicked are going to try to say that they could destroy us, but they can't, all right? They can't destroy us. They're going to be able to sacrifice some of us, but it's going to fulfill prophecy, all right? The devil's going to come down with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time. Revelation 12:12, therefore rejoice. In fact, I'm going to go to 10. It says, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and the power of his anointed, for the accuser of our brethren, which is that so-called white race, the red devil the Bible speaks of, For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. All right, and they're accusing us right now falsely. They're making up lies to come up against us. I just showed you that it is not illegal to search out information, but it's soon going to be illegal to do these things. And this is why there's going to be a famine of the word. Amos 8:11. It says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, because we are Israelites. Yahweh's sacrifice was for the Israelites. And by the word of their testimony were the anointed prophets prophesied of for the last days. And they loved not their lives unto the death, because some of us are going to lose our lives. All right. So we've been mentally by the Spirit prepared to sacrifice ourselves every day for the Lord's name. All right. Because they're going to persecute us, because they don't want to let us go. They're in the same satanic spirit that Egypt was in under Pharaoh. All right. And they're going to be destroyed, pursuing us, trying to slaughter us. All right. It says in verse 12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time, which he's going to throw some of us into prison and even kill us, which it's all part of prophecy. But we're not afraid because of Yahweh Shai. All right, his grace is sufficient, and it's sufficient in that we know that whether we live or die, it's all to the Lord. He could resurrect us and give us new bodies as he promised us. It says in Revelation 2 verse 10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil, which is that so-called white race that accuses us, shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. And our faith is going to be tried. And some brothers are going to come out of the prison in miraculous ways. Some brothers are going to die in the prison, glorifying the names, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, whether we live or whether we die. It says, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. So it's already preordained for a period of time. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches, which are the elect men. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. All right. It tells you in Revelation 3, verse, I'll get 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. So he's going to preserve our soul, which shall come upon all the world to try them, to test them that dwell upon the earth, which majority of the Israelites are going to accept the implantable microchip and be destroyed. Behold, I come quickly, hold that fast, which is this prophecy, which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my power, which the wall the Lord is setting up, the hedge, the elect are pillars that are the actual guards of the nation of Israel. And the Lord's going to give some of the elect the power to actually protect the Israelites that are going to be preserved with the elect. All right? Because the wall is the remembrance of us being an Israelite that separate us from the other nations. Just as a wall, you would be on the inside and the heathen would be on the outside. All right? So only that the customs of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, which he gave to the Israelites, would be in the kingdom of heaven. See? But Jake allowed the heathen to mingle amongst them, and they corrupted them, teaching them to worship idols. All right, but the elect were preserving the nation by preserving the remembrance of being an Israelite as Israelites, and Yahweh Shai is the one that made it our salvation through his sacrifice, which he came as an Israelite. It says, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my power, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my power, and the name of the city of my power, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my power, and I will write upon him my new name. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit of the church, what the Spirit saith unto the churches, unto the elect. All right? So the Lord's saying that we have to own being the elect and endure, and the same shall be saved. But we overcome in the name of, excuse me, we overcome in the name of Yahweh, in the name Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai. All right? We're going to call upon him in the time of trouble, and he's going to save us. The Lord's going to come down, all right? He's going to descend from heaven in a chariot in the glory of his Father with the host of heaven as the king of terrors, and he's going to deliver us from the second death. All right? And we're New Jerusalem. We're the ones that are returning to what is right in the scriptures, and we're condemning what is wrong, starting with that so-called white race, the red devil, which blasphemed the Holy Spirit. All right? And he's going to go into captivity. All right? It tells you that in Revelation 13, verse 9, it says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, which is America, and he had two horns like a lamb, the Republic and the Democrat, and he spake as a dragon. So they're speaking as a dragon, all right? And they're pretty much lifting themselves up in the image of ancient pagan Rome, all right, which they ruled with iron fists, all right? And that's what they're about to do. They're about to show they're the devil, which they've been doing, but it's only going to increase, and it's going to increase to their demise, all right? They're going to fall like lightning when Yahweh Shai comes back to save his elect. He's going to destroy him, all right, the wicked, and his military in fire, according to prophecies, all right? And this is why they don't like these scriptures, and they're going to want to get rid of them. But this is why we've been, meditating on these scriptures day and night. Because what does it say? In Psalm 1, it says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of Yahweh, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. Because it tells you what Yahweh Shai is going to do. Revelation 19 and 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. Yahweh Shai, he's going to fulfill the scriptures. He's going to bring forth these prophecies. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war, which he's going to make war against the wicked, the devil, and his angels. And these 2/3 that are cleaving unto Egypt, they're going to die here in fire, and because America will become a lake of fire. It says in Revelation 19 and verse 13, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. All right, so this is what they're afraid of, is these words coming true, which they know they're true. This is why they searched out through the science of archaeology the scriptures. And we have a sure word of prophecy. It says in verse 14, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, because they're fighting to try to destroy us, the Israelites, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. He's going to give them to us, and we're going to rule them with iron fists. They're going to be our slaves, all the nations. He treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Yahweh. He's going to destroy Esau's kingdom when he comes back, when he delivers us. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh, meaning on his garment, a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, which the garment is going to display his title. All right. But Yahweh Shai is coming back in style, according to the prophecies. He's going to be decked out as a man, as a powerful king going into battle. All right. Going into a marriage, going into a battle, because he's going to fight the devil and his angels for his bride. So it says in Revelation 19:7, let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, which we're in this time. After they make that implantable microchip, the mark of the beast, mandatory for buying and selling, all right, which is going to cause a great tribulation, nuclear destruction, and our salvation at the return of Yahweh Shai. It says, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. The elect, we've been meditating on these scriptures, and the Israelites are going to gather unto us that are ordained to be saved and join themselves to us as the Lord delivers us. He's going to deliver his elect and those Israelites that believed on the word, Yahweh's word that speaks of Yahweh Shai, which he put in our mouths by the Holy Spirit. Verse 8, and to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. And he saith unto me, right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, these are the true sayings of Yahweh, and we receive them through Yahweh Shai by the mouth of prophets, all right, which the angels of the Lord encamp around us, which this is why we're going to overcome. The Lord is for us, who could be against us? It says in Luke 10, verse 17, and the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven, which this destruction is coming soon, and it's going to happen in one day, in 1 hour, after they make that implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling. It says, behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. When you go into the word tread, all right, it means to get over them that are trying to stop the truth. Tread.
Strong's G 3961. Pateo. Pateo.
Tread, trample. But right here it says to advance by setting foot upon, tread upon, to encounter successfully the greatest perils from the machinations. I believe it's machinations. Machination, which is a plot or scheme, which they're plotting against the Israelites. They're trying to slaughter us. It says, and persecutions with which Satan, which there's an actual spirit working through the so-called white man, which is the spirit of Satan, And the red devil is that so-called white man that's moving in that spirit of Satan, would fain thwart the preaching of the gospel. So they're coming against the truth, right? So the Lord's, he's for us, and he's going to allow us to overcome them. All right, just read it, because we keep the word of his patience. He's going to deliver us from the hour of temptation. It says, to tread underfoot, trample on, i.e., in other words, to treat with insult and contempt, which fuck them Edomites and fuck their threats. All right, our God is greater than their God, which they say they have no God, though they know there's a God. All right, this is why they're going to be the actual wicked as it's prophesied. It says to desecrate the holy city by devastation and outrage. All right, which they're coming down with great wrath, outraged because of us telling the truth, because they are the wicked. They are the red devil the Bible speaks of. But the Lord's going to give us the power to overcome, though they have all these devices planned for us. It says, verse 20, and even dying with our faith is the ability to overcome, instead of being given over to the temptation. It says, verse 20, notwithstanding in this, rejoice not that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. We're written in the book of life. We're going to reap the reward that the Lord has promised us. Isaiah 3:10. It says, say ye to the righteous, it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. We're gonna get the reward that we've been speaking of. We're gonna own everything. We're gonna control everything, including the heathen. They're gonna be our slaves. Woe unto the wicked, the so-called white race, the red devil the Bible speaks of. It shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hand shall be given him, which pride cometh before the fall. Pride cometh before destruction. It says, as for my people, children are their oppressors, which these are base men. All right. And if you read in the history of the Israelites, all right, we came out of captivity under greater men like Nebuchadnezzar and Xerxes. All right. And the Lord humbled them before us and delivered us. Even Egypt, remember, they had a great army and they pursued us, and we went on dry land, and the Lord created a wall for us to protect us, and he crushed our enemy with that wall of water that stood up beside us so we could cross on dry land. Remember this. All right. It says, and women rule over them. And all these women, they're leading these movements against us through their executive orders, right, which are actually illegal even in the land of Esau's, the law of the land, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. They're violating their own laws, which they're hypocrites. So the Lord's going to punish the wicked and them that do wickedly. It says, for the reward of his hand shall be given him. As for my people, the Israelites, their oppressors, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them, because the wicked put up women in positions of power. O my people, they which led thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. This is why our people are going to be destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Yahweh standeth up to plead and standeth to judge the people, which this is why the elect have been summoned and raised up. It says in verse 21 of Obadiah, and saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esau. So there's going to be Israelite men that are raised up in the Holy Spirit to condemn Esau and his wicked ass kingdom. And the kingdom shall be Yahweh's, and these men would be Israelites. All right. And these men are the ones you're supposed to run into, all right, seeking the milk, the sincere milk of the truth. all right, which is our protection from these evils, all right? And this is why when Yahushua returns, he's going to gather his elect. Matthew 24, verse 31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other, which it tells you in Revelation 7 and 4, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000, which are men of all the tribes of the sons of Israel. And then verse 9, and after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, which are Israelites that get the victory through Yahushua by falling in order under the elect. It says, and cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our power, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushua, for the Lord gave us the elect men, which sitteth upon the throne and upon the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worshipped our power, saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Ha Rakah Quadash, forever and ever. Amen. Shalom, Shalom, Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Brakatam, to the hopeful elect, Wa Ababa.